You know, you might not think a forklift and a high-performance sports car have much in common, but honestly, both can get you into a world of trouble if you don't know what you're doing. So today, we're going to decode one of the most important safety playbooks out there, the OSHA standard for powered industrial trucks. We're going to break down the essential rules that keep operators and everyone around them safe.
So let's start with a basic question. If you have a driver's license, why can't you just hop on a forklift and start moving pallets? I mean, they've both got a steering wheel, they both move, right? Well, the answer comes down to a really fundamental design difference that creates a whole unique set of risks.
And this is the absolute key. See, your car is stable because it sits on 4 points. But most forklifts, they're actually balancing on just 3, the 2 front wheels and a single pivot point in the back. So just imagine this invisible triangle connecting those 3 points. As long as the center of gravity for the truck and its load stays inside that little triangle, you're golden. But the second it shifts outside, that's when you get those catastrophic, and I mean catastrophic, tip-overs.
Okay, so to make sense of all this, here's our game plan. First, we'll talk about why these rules even exist. Then, we'll get into matching the right truck to the right job. After that, we'll cover what it really means to be a certified operator, go over the essential day-to-day rules, and finally, look at the real consequences of doing things right versus getting them wrong.
All right, let's dive into our first section. These rules aren't just random or made up to make things difficult. They're a direct result of very real and often very severe workplace accidents. Every single requirement in this standard is there to prevent a specific kind of bad day, from collisions and tip-overs to fires and falling loads.
And here's where it gets really interesting. OSHA, that's the federal agency in charge of workplace safety, doesn't just have one category for forklifts. No, they've actually got 11 distinct classifications for these vehicles. That number right there tells you that a one-size-fits-all approach to safety just is not going to work. Each one is designated based on its power source and its specific built-in safety features.
Which brings us perfectly to our next section. You can't just grab any of those 11 types of trucks and put it to work. The environment, the workspace itself, is what really decides what's safe. It's all about making sure the truck's design is a perfect match for the hazards of the job.
So, if you look at this chart, the system's actually pretty logical. At the basic level, you've got letters for the fuel type. D for diesel, E for electric, you get the idea. But it's the letters that come after that that are so crucial. An S, for example, means it has extra safeguards to prevent sparks. And an EX rating on an electric truck, that means it's basically explosion-proof, built to work in the most hazardous environments you can imagine.
And this is exactly why those letters matter so much. Your average warehouse, that's a non-hazardous location, but think about a paint shop with flammable vapors, or a grain silo with combustible dust in the air. Those are hazardous locations. Using a standard gas-powered truck in a place like that, well, it's like striking a match at a gas station. You're just introducing an ignition source that could lead to an absolute disaster.
Okay, so we know how to pick the right tool for the job. Now let's talk about the single most important safety feature of all, the person behind the wheel. OSHA is incredibly clear on this. A safe truck is only half the battle. The other half is having a competent, well-trained operator who really understands the vehicle, the workspace, and the rules of the road.
Now, becoming a certified operator isn't just about watching a video and taking a quiz. It's a whole 3-part process. It all starts with formal instruction, the classroom stuff. Then you move on to practical, hands-on training, where an expert shows you the ropes and you get to practice. But the final and maybe most important step is an evaluation, where you're watched doing your specific job in your actual work environment.
And here's the thing, that training never really stops. It's an ongoing cycle. Refresher training is required anytime an operator is seen doing something unsafe, or if they're in an accident, or even a near miss. It also kicks in if you switch to a different kind of truck, or if the workplace itself changes. And no matter what, everyone's skills have to be reevaluated at least once every 3 years.
So, once an operator has gone through all of that successfully, the employer has to formally certify it. This is a written record basically saying, yep, this person has been trained, they've been evaluated, and we authorize them to operate this equipment. It creates a really clear line of accountability for workplace safety.
All right, Section 4. Let's get into the day-to-day stuff. Beyond all the training and truck matching, OSHA has a clear playbook of operating rules. These are the things that have to be followed every single day to prevent the most common kinds of accidents.
Let's start with a really simple but vital one. What to do when you leave a truck unattended. It's a 3-step process. Forks have to be all the way down on the ground, power shut off, brake set. That simple habit prevents someone from tripping over raised forks, and it stops a multi-ton vehicle from rolling away when no one's looking. Yep, just like driving on the highway, there are traffic rules inside a warehouse. You need to keep about 3 truck lengths between you and the vehicle in front of you. A loaded forklift is incredibly heavy, and trust me, it does not stop on a dime. That little buffer zone is what gives an operator the time and space they need to react and stop safely. It's all about preventing collisions.
Okay, remember that stability triangle we talked about at the beginning? This rule is all about that. When you're on a ramp or any kind of incline with a load, the load always has to be on the uphill side of you. So going up a ramp, you drive forward. But going down a ramp, you drive in reverse. This is what keeps the weight from shifting and causing a tip over. It's physics.
This is an absolute. It's completely non-negotiable. There is never a safe reason for any person to be under a raised fork, period. It doesn't matter if it's loaded or empty. A hydraulic system can fail in a split second. A load can shift. This rule exists for one simple reason: to prevent a fatality.
And that brings us to our final section, where we tie it all together. We're going to look at maintenance and then the very real consequences, both good and bad, that come from how seriously a workplace takes all these rules.
So, here's the deal. Safe operation starts before you even turn the key. OSHA requires that every single truck gets a safety inspection before it's used. At a minimum, that means a really thorough check once a day. If a truck is used around the clock, it means an inspection before every single shift. And if you find anything that could affect safety, that truck has to be taken out of service immediately.
And this is really the bottom line, isn't it? The risks of cutting corners are just huge. We're talking about terrible injuries, massive fines from OSHA, and the huge cost of having your operations shut down after an incident. But the rewards for doing it right are just as powerful. You get a workforce that feels safe and valued, an operation that runs smoother and more efficiently, and you build a true culture of safety.
And that really leaves us with one final thought to chew on. Just following the rules, that's the bare minimum. The real goal is to build an environment where safety isn't just a checklist, but it's a shared value that's part of every decision. So ask yourself, in your workplace, is safety just a binder sitting on a shelf, or is it really part of the company's DNA?
If you found this helpful or want to stay updated when this regulation changes, subscribe and support the channel. And if you need the full technical details on this CFR, click the link in the description below. See you next time.